Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Despite the traffic, we see a good crowd here. And if Landmark has more number of visitors browsing the books, may we request you to please join us for this beautiful occasion. Okay, before we start, a quick introduction. My name is Arvind and I'm going to take you through the rest of the evening today. And I have a fabulous opportunity, thanks to New Horizon Media, Kridikupadi for giving me this opportunity to anchor a very, very inspiring story, well documented in a book form, and best of all, it's been translated in Tamil so that more readers can read about the success story. Before we start, I have, may I request Vaidehi to come up here and give bouquet to Mr. R. Ganapati, please. Looks like all of us are tired, so can we? Yes. May I request my beautiful wife Deepa to come up and give a bouquet to Captain Gopinath, please. And we also have Natasha representing Landmark. She's been very kind despite our tough expectations. Natasha, may we request you to please hand over the bouquet to Mr. Satish Babu. I'm going to introduce each one of them during the course of the evening, but let me begin with having Badri Seshadri, who's a publisher of New Horizon Media, who's been instrumental in bringing out this book. He and his team have put together a beautiful, beautiful book, and he does very interesting work. We've been associated with Badri's organization for over a year now, and we've had great relationship going with them. Without taking too much of Badri's time, here Badri, over to you.
Thank you. எல்லோருக்கும் வணக்கம். இந்த புத்தகம் ஒரு கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு வருஷமாக நடந்துட்டு இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு ஒர்க் இது. இன்றைக்கு இந்த இடத்துல லேண்ட்மார்க் ஸ்பென்சர் பிளாசாவில் இந்த புத்தகத்துடைய தமிழாக்கம், கேப்டன் கோபிநாத்துடைய புத்தகத்துடைய தமிழாக்கம் கொண்டு வரதில் நாங்கள் ரொம்ப மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறோம். இந்த கதை ரொம்ப ஒரு இன்ஸ்பைரிங்கான ஒரு கதை. இந்த புத்தகத்தை படித்தவங்களுக்கு தெரியும், படிக்க போகிறவங்க ரொம்ப அவளோட எதிர்பார்க்க வேண்டிய ஒரு விஷயம். நாங்கள் டைட்டில் இங்கே போட்டிருக்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு குக் கிராமத்திலிருந்து வந்திருக்கும் ஒரு மனிதனின் விண்ணை தொட்ட கதை. ரொம்ப ஒரு இன்ஸ்பிரேஷனல் ஸ்டோரி. ஏன்னா அவர் ரொம்ப சாதாரணமான ஒரு நிலையிலிருந்து பல்வேறு விஷயங்களை அவர் எக்ஸ்பெரிமெண்ட் பண்ணி இதுதான் அப்படிங்கிறது இல்லை, கடைசியாக அவர் அந்த பறக்கிற அந்த தொழில் அவருடைய மிலிட்ரி அனுபவங்கள், அவருடைய விவசாயம் சார்ந்த அனுபவங்கள் போல பல விஷயங்கள் ரொம்ப சுவாரஸ்யமானதெல்லாம் இருக்குது. ஸோ வி ஆர் வெரி ஹானர்ட் சார் தட் யூ ஆர் ஹியர் டு talk to us about your experience, and I really enjoyed reading your book in English first and then also in Tamil. Thank you for being here. இந்த புத்தகத்தை அதோடைய முதல் காப்பியை ரிலீஸ் பண்ணுறதுக்காக எனக்கு யூனிவர்சல் சதீஷ் பாபு வந்திருக்காரு. ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம் எங்களுக்கு. இந்த மாதிரி மிஸ்டர் கணபதி ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம் முதல் காப்பியை பெற்றுக்கொள்றதுக்கு வந்திருக்கு. இந்த புத்தகத்தோடைய ப்ராசஸில் முக்கியமாக ஒருத்தரை இங்கே சொல்லணும். எங்களுடைய அலுவலகத்திலேருந்து இந்த புத்தகத்தை தமிழில் டிரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்ணவர் மகாதேவன் பின்னாடி உட்காந்துருக்காரு. ஹீ இஸ் ஒன் ஹூ டிரான்ஸ்லேட்டட் தி புக் ஃப்ரம் இங்கிலீஷ் டு தமிழ். முக்கியமான பேச்செல்லாம் இருக்குது. அதனால் இந்த ஒரு சின்ன அறிமுகத்தோட உங்கள் எல்லாருடைய பிளெஸ்ஸிங்ஸோடையும் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சி நல்லா நடக்கணும் வேண்டிக்கிறேன். தேங்க்யூ.
தேங்க்ஸ் பத்ரி. நானும் தமிழில் தான் பேச போகிறேன், பட் இங்கிலீஷ் கலந்த ஒரு தமிழ், காக்டெயில் தமிழ்னு சொல்லலாம். ஓகே, பிஃபோர் ஐ பிரிங் அப் த சீஃப் கெஸ்ட் ஃபார் திஸ் ஈவினிங், த ரீசன் வை வி சோஸ் மிஸ்டர் சதீஷ் பாபு டு பி ஹியர் அண்ட் இந்த புக்கை துவக்கி வைக்கிறதுக்கு அவரை நாங்கள் சூஸ் பண்ணதுக்கு ஒரே ஒரு காரணம், இன்ஃபேக்ட் நான் அவரோட ஆஃபீஸில் கூட சொன்னேன், that both Captain Gopinath and Mr. Satish Babu both of them are contemporaries in their own way. First generation entrepreneurs, ரெண்டு பேர்ட்டையும் அவங்க பேச்சிலேயே உங்களுக்கு தெரிய வரும், but their only passion was to create something substantial out of nothing. So therefore we chose, and it was so nice of him to have accepted it despite his busy schedule. So maybe now come to the main event, and I know all of us are tired, ஒரு ஆஃபீஸ்லாம் முடிச்சுட்டு வந்திருப்போம், but let's loosen up a little bit and bring the roof down. So I'd like to see a lot of excitement, because I'm going to invite Mr. Satish Babu to unveil the book and hand over the first copy to Mr. Ganapati. So, sir. No problem. May we request Captain Gopinath to hand over a copy to Mr. Mahadevan as well. You learn about a person or a professional, to be very precise, with the way he shakes hand. And I had a wonderful and unforgettable handshake with Mr. Satish Babu. So over to Mr. Satish Babu. The evening is yours. Please speak a few words on entrepreneurship and.
I can stand and talk in Tamil or English, anything. Okay. It's very good to be here, and good to see a legend here. And he's been an inspiration for a lot of us. And definitely one day I should be like you. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡ ಬರುತ್ತೋ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಥರ ಬರಬೇಕು one day. Okay, I am from Chennai, Mylapore. I started as a sales guy. Every day in the morning, I was chased by dogs. Of course, chased sometimes by beautiful women in the morning. So tapping the door at 7 o'clock, many women also slammed the door. That's how I started off my career. And definitely one day I wanted to be a good businessman. That was there. So I was running faster than the dogs, so I escaped. I started selling, and one day the dog bit me. I would say the dog is the bug, that I need to be a businessman one day. I started having a store selling cell phones. There was a time when phones were stones, so big, heavy one. We started off at a small team, went door to door. We're from a very small way we started. Going door to door again, what I know well, and trying to sell phones to people. Many people said, it's not possible there. You can't come up, you need to have more support, backing, you need to have family which supports you with money. So we are from a very middle class family. I'm able to take a lot of parallel from the book, what you read, sir, from your background. I can understand it has started off in a small way from Hassan. Hassan reminds me of Malguri. It's a very nice place. And I worked in Hassan also, door to door. So I can say it's a small, a small way. And we had only one thing in mind. One day we can do it. I was looking for inspiration from a lot of books to see how other people who start off without much family support, how did they come up in life? At that time, it was 20 years or 15, 20 years back, not many books were available. There were not many stories about successful people were there, or Indian successful people were there. There were some books on Tata, there were some books on Reliance people, but not many entrepreneurs. Today, you have people like Captain Gopinath, who had made it successful. People who read these type of books definitely get inspiration, who will start believing that you don't need to have a family which supports you. You can start off, in the sense financially. You don't need big money. You could start from scratch. If you have a big dream and willing to work hard, if you're passionate about it, you can definitely make it successful. I'm on the way. One day we should be like you. And very happy to be here with us. I've read your book, sir, and it makes me feel like Malgudi. In the beginning, the whole Hassan, the stay in Hassan, taking a bath in the river, it all makes me going back to Malgudi. And great to see you here, and very happy to be here in this show. I wish the publishers all the very best, and definitely believe that this Vaaname Ellai becomes goes to the sky, and sales are very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, one thing that I personally believe in is we waste a lot of time trying to make mistakes and go after success. But if you really spend time looking at how people have succeeded, I think I personally believe we reduce the time that it takes for us to create our own success story. So from that perspective, even I'm a great fan of reading about people who have made it big, especially first generation entrepreneur, because I believe I've just begun my own journey as a first generation entrepreneur. So with that, I'm going to invite another busy professional. He globetrots, and again, it so happened that he was available. And thank you so much. I call him uncle because I know his son very well. So I'd request Mr. R. Ganapathy to say a few words about the book.
Yeah, but you can't globetrot without people like Captain Gopinath. Friends, I feel like a thorn between two roses. Roses in terms of the fact two phenomenal successful stories of modern India, Satish and Gopinath. One whom I knew very well, one I've begun to know him through the contents of his book, and now personally, apart from the several TV shows we have seen him participate. It's everybody's dream to fly, and Captain Gopinath made sure that the average Indian's dream was fulfilled by making flying affordable and safe. Like every other successful story, it began in a horrible manner in that one morning in Hyderabad when he first launched the flight, and I still remember a bit of fire on the wings. And the whole world said and believed this is the end of cheap flying in India. He proved the prophets of doom wrong, made Air Deccan simply one of the best in budget airlines in the world, and the rest, as we know, is history. But the stable from Gopinath, Captain, doesn't end there. He's like a film producer, a successful film producer. Every one of his products is a blockbuster. He's got more coming. He's into cargo. He's into other forms of management. And I think this is an inspirational story that must reach every youngster who aspires to be a professional, who aspires to be an entrepreneur. I would have really wished that this kind of a program had been kept in an institution like the IIM or so, where India, learning this story, will produce more entrepreneurs like Captain Gopinath. If every decade we don't produce 10 Gopinaths, I don't think this country can see 10% growth consistently over long periods of time. From that standpoint, it is indeed a great privilege and honor to be an Indian, because India has people like Captain Gopinath. Thank you for inviting me, and wish you all the best, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, just to add a very interesting piece of information which I shared with Mr. Satish Babu the other day, is that on one hand, this was based on a visit that I had to a city school, Padma Seshadri. I was inside the principal's office. There were groups that I could recognize: commerce, computer science, biology, and then I found a new group, and I was mighty excited, and it said entrepreneurship. I said, wow, India is heading in the right direction. Then we saw the number of students overall, 11th and 12th, 200 odd children who were there inside that school at that point of time. And then I found only 2 children opting out for entrepreneurship. And that's sort of reflects our reality. People are very comfortable leading a cushy life, but when it comes to entrepreneurship, I think it's books like these, it's success stories like what he's created that is going to give a lot of parents the motivation and also say that, tomorrow they want their child not to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a chartered accountant, but actually entrepreneurship as another profitable career. And with that, let me invite the man of the evening to share his journey towards between farming at Hassan and signing off with Vijay Mallya. Over to you, Captain.
Friends, I'm really touched by this fine gesture of words. Satyanarayan, Badri and Mahadev. I think in just two minutes I could sense that I'm actually looking at an extraordinary entrepreneur by just listening to the story of him by Ganapati. So you have amidst you people who have succeeded, and these stories need to be told to inspire people. I wish I could speak in Tamil, but let me say a few words. In fact, the birth of my book happened because of Landmark. I came here to Chennai about, I think, 4 years ago when I was running Deccan. I was called by the TVS people, where the Chief Minister was there, Mr. Karunanidhi then, to give away awards for young entrepreneurs. And one of the awards I gave was to Hemu Ramaya. And like I always do, I do not give a PowerPoint presentation or a management lecture. I don't give a management lecture. I spoke about my story as to what I did, how I went to a village school, I studied in a Kannada medium school, I went barefoot to a school. My father was a poor school teacher, like most parents in those days who were very frugal. And when I say poor teacher, because there is a phrase in Kannada, you say "bada mestru," teachers don't get paid well. But he had good aristocratic values. He never put me to school till my 5th standard. I went to school for the first time in my 5th standard because my father said, the school is a jail. You can learn more by, observing nature, going to the river, and spend as much time creatively as possible with other children. So he used to teach me at home. This is just to tell you that we sometimes worry so much about putting our children to the best school and giving them so much of tuition, and none of this was a handicap for me. On the other hand, it was a big strength for me. So my father, when he took me to the village fields, the paddy fields, he would show me all the poor Harijan boys who would be working in the fields, and taught me that I was fortunate. So even though we ourselves were poor, my father had 8 children, my childhood was full of joy because there was full of sunshine because there's no envy. So I studied in that local school, and one day the headmaster of the school said there's an examination for a Sainik school, like you have one in Tamil Nadu in Amravati Nagar in those days, and I just put up my hand and saying that I want to take that exam. I did not know what a military school was, except that I saw in the village, sometimes you find a board there, military hotel, and I used to ask my father, what is a military hotel? And he said military hotel is where they serve non-vegetarian food, because in the military they are strong, they eat non-vegetarian. So instead of saying non-vegetarian hotel, in the villages, deep in the interiors, you will find here and there military hotel. And for me, I was a small puny boy and bullied by other students, so I just wanted to go out of the village. There is a very famous poem by Puthi Nasimachar, in a Kannada poem. It says, Gudiyache, Gadiyache, Gidadache, Hogona Bandiro, Hosanadige. Let's go beyond the woods, beyond the temples, beyond the borders, to new lands yonder. Let's venture out. So it is this dreaming, that took me out of my village. And this dreaming is very important. So my book is about dreaming. Is about combining your dreams with venture. It's not enough to dream. Your dream must be combined with venture. Dreaming is not enough. It's not enough to stare up the steps. You must step up the stairs. And like Emerson said, from knowing to doing. If you don't have the latter, any amount of knowledge is of no use. So, it was said that Columbus, when he set out sailing, he stood on the edge of Europe, and stood on the land. In those days, it was still felt the land was flat. They did not know the Copernican globe. Copernicus was not there. Still, the theory had not come. So it was a belief that the land was flat. So Columbus sat there at the edge of the land, and he said, if the earth is flat, if I am standing on land here, and if there's water in front of me, there must be land on the other side. Otherwise, how does it balance? Like a stick. So because of this intuition, this prompting that came, all of us have this inner prompting, which is spontaneity or instinct or intuition. The rest is tuition. So you have to rely on that intuition. And he said, I can discover lands on the other side. And nobody funded him. He was an Italian. And the Spanish king, gave him the money. So that I think the first venture capital. And Spain, became a great, Spanish armada. The Spain in those days was, bigger than England. Spain conquered large parts of the world. And that was because of Columbus. Because Columbus, sailed across, discovered, the navy became strong. And the whole history of the world changed. But to discover new lands, you should be content to leave the shore and be away from the shore for a long time. So, in that sense, I left my village. I wrote this exam. In fact, when I wrote the exam for the military school, I failed the exam. I failed the exam because the exam was in English. And I had studied in a Kannada medium school. So I came back crying, and I told my headmaster, a village school headmaster, saying, that, I was full of anger and not bitterness. A lot of anger was there, and I was crying. And he, sitting in that village, wrote a postcard. I was not even from Hassan. I was from a small village near Hassan. Small, about 500 people, 1,000 people. He wrote a postcard to someone in Delhi in the defense ministry, saying that how can you insult, language with intelligence. Now, how can you equate language with intelligence? Knowing English doesn't mean you're more intelligent. Knowing Kannada doesn't mean you're less intelligent. So why are you giving exams in rural areas in English? And somebody saw that and wrote back saying, well, we are sorry, we'll hold another exam in Kannada. So that was my first, intuitive inkling that you don't take no for an answer. You don't give up. You make an attempt. So you are not defeated when you fail in the first attempt. You are not defeated when you fail. You are defeated only when you quit. You are defeated only when you stop trying. As long as you are trying, as long as you are swimming, you are not failed. So my story, I want you to read the book. So when I told a story like this, and after giving the award to Hemu Ramaya, next day Hemu Ramaya called me and said, Captain, you must write this story. It's a very interesting story, because I did not say these are the 10 management rules, these are the 10 marketing rules and the sales rules. Something of that is there, how to build a brand, how to build a stock market. But that is there, but it is not in a classroom style that these are the. It is more about inspiring people to dream big. It is about telling you that it is the effort that matters. The joy and happiness is in the effort itself. And that success is as a consequence. And it is, you have to be you have to be creative to have joy in life. To succeed will be consequence. It is about creativity, and that creativity doesn't have to be a big, a discovery like Einstein, or discovering a steam engine. That creativity has to be in everyday life, and it is about the joy of living intensely. So my book is not just about business. It's about love for life. It's about zest for life. It is about living life intensely, because there's a lot of, my first half of my book is about my village life, then my army life, then I resigned everything with 6,000 rupees in my pocket, because I said, look, I have spent 8 years in the army training, 8 years as an officer. Then I said, look, I must do something else. There's more to life than just promotions. So I wanted to come back, and there was this longing for me to go back to my village. I went back to my village, and they had built a dam across the river, and all the lands of most of the people, including whatever little my father had, about 60 villages were submerged under the water. They built a dam on the Hemavati river, which is a tributary to the Kaveri. So when I went to the village, I found wherever I went, the people were in turmoil. They had become refugees, overnight. They had become emotional refugees, because it's like taking the child away from the mother. If you take away the land of a farmer, who is actually a farmer with 2-3 acres of land, and you take away that land, it's very difficult to convince him that, look, I'm taking away your land because I want to give electricity to someone else, or I want to give water to some other drought. And we know that these dams are very political. They are built because politicians can make money. In fact, the dam is built by the minister in a village where he doesn't belong to, because the water can come to his district and he can get votes and he can make money. But the villager doesn't understand this, because most of the compensation that is given is taken away by middlemen. The middlemen take away most of the compensation. So I was seeing all this, and then I asked my father what happened to our land. And he said that, look, we lost whatever little we had, but the government gives land again in compensation. How does the government give land in compensation? Because when you build a dam, you lose fertile lands, you lose forest land. And to give land to the people who are submerged, the government again gives forest lands. It again gives grazing lands. In Karnataka, probably in Tamil Nadu, we had a lot of ancient sacred grazing lands. Every village had a temple. It had a grove where you had this mango. It's called topu in Kannada, where you have next to the temple, where they can have their festivals. Every village had a grazing land. Every village had a pond if it's not on the river, and a grazing land, a pond. So we had a lot of big grazing lands from the Maharaja's time. So they allotted some 5,000 acres of grazing land. So when these villagers go and settle down in the grazing land, because they lost their lands in another dam, the local people, resent it. They do not want them to come there, because they have lost now. These villagers have lost rights on the grazing land. So I went through all that, saw it. So I told my father, let me go and live in that land which was allotted to me. So I lived in a tent for 2 years. And like all farmers, I got into debt, got out of debt. Now I went through hell. But I think you have to go through hell to see heaven. That's the gates to heaven is through hell actually. But never did I feel bitter. Never there was depression in me. In the worst of times, I would get up every day, because I enjoyed a campfire at night. I enjoyed a nice rum in the evening. I enjoyed bathing in the river. I enjoyed working in the field. So I took joy in the daily things. It's not, happiness is not something that you one day go and catch it. It's like a rainbow. If you try to go, it will go away from you. Happiness is in your attitude. It is the attitude to life. It is the attitude to work itself, in your daily little things. So nothing great can ever be achieved without enthusiasm. That is the underlying philosophy of all ages. That at the end of the day, you had to get up with enthusiasm, with energy. And it was true then, it is true today, it will be true tomorrow, and that is more important than capital. If you have energy, if you have passion, if you have commitment, capital will come for your business or for your dreams. And you need to not just dream, but live life, living the dream. And so my book is about that. It's also about, you know, a kind of generosity of heart, you know, because there's so much of cynicism today. There's so much of resentment. You know, you've got so much of corruption. You've got so much of, you know, Naxalism and Maoism. See, on the one hand, you have a lot of village people coming into Madras and Bangalore and Delhi. Every day they are migrating, looking for jobs. So you've got the educated unemployed, you've got the uneducated unemployed. On the one hand, there's India which is booming. And this India which is booming is taking the other India along. But it's not enough because the other 50% or 60% or 70% don't have jobs. So when they come to Madras, they go to Delhi, you know, and they're looking at all these skyscrapers and not getting jobs, you know, there is anger in them. So on the one hand, we have a large educated unemployed and the uneducated unemployed who are cynical with anger, you know, resentment. You know, there is resentment in them. They feel that, you know, anything violence is justified. And that's the reason you have got about 200 districts under Naxalism, you know, in India today, because they feel that I will not get justice. And since I'm not going to get justice, they easily get carried away and take to arms. On the other hand, you also have the educated employed who have got jobs, who have come from villages like me or like him. But after getting the job, you know, they are in their own cocoon, you know, their job, their family, their clubs and their pubs, and they are not concerned about society. And all the time they are cynical, you know, they're all the time criticizing the government, all the time saying everything is bad, there is corruption, the roads are bad, there is no power, like in Karnataka for example, there is no power for more than 3 hours in a day, you know, at the best of times you don't get more than 3 hours of power for farmers today. No, and even that 3 hours is not good quality power. And so all the time you are criticizing, you know, no, cynicism is slow suicide. So my book is about, you know, losing yourself in action. You know, you criticize, but then you are part of the problem, you know. You are as much part of the problem because the politician is you in the mirror. Because I also contested, you know, 2 elections. So there's something about that as to why I contested elections, you know, what I saw from below. How I entered into politics, got sucked into it, contested an election, lost the election. But I came back with more energy. I learned a lot and I started Air Deccan. Of course, there's a big story of how I built Air Deccan. I did not have money. I first built a helicopter company, which I still have, which is India's largest helicopter company today, where I tied up with the Tatas. But when I started the helicopter company, I did not have any money. But I had so much of energy and so much of enthusiasm, so much of, you know, belief in this country that it was still possible. You know, in spite of the politicians taking money, I knew that if you go with a determination not to give money, there will always be some politician who will open the door for you. Because he may be corrupt, but he may not be corrupt with you. You know, he'll say, okay, let me help this guy. I'll take money from someone else. So it is this, you know, inexhaustible optimism. It is this, you know, you know, entrepreneurs who want certainty, who are pessimistic, who want certainty cannot make great entrepreneurs. So you need to have, you know, optimism in friendship, optimism in love, optimism in goodness of things, optimism in the country, in people, to live life happily and to create something. So if you see, you know, if you listen to, you know, Subbalakshmi, I mean, with all the problems, you know, how can you be not happy? If you listen to T.M. Krishna, for example, who is one of your own great musicians, or Sanjay Subramaniam, or I just heard last week, now I would come from my farm all the way by bus. Just one night, I would leave everything and I would come all the way from a bus from my farm to listen to Samangudi Srinivasaya. And that 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours for me was eternity. I said, oh my God, even if I die tomorrow, I'll have died blessed. So, I mean, and you listen to Palgat Mani Iyer, you know, or Chambai Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar, even in a recording, or you come and listen to a live concert. Just last week I heard, you know, Ranjini and Gayatri. I hosted a concert of T.V. Shankarnarayan in my village. So when you listen to these great people or look at, that means you need to have a generosity of heart to admire the good things of life. You know, you need to admire the good things of life, magnificent things. You go to the Himalayas, you go to you know the great mountains here in South India. You can't be depressed with all the problems. So the way out of life is to live life intensely. And so I'm very happy that they're putting this book in Tamil, because we still have 70% of the population or 90% of the population, I don't know the exact numbers, because when they tell me NDTV or Times Now has got 50% market share, it is 50% of the 5% who speak English. So 50% market share means only 2.5%. But even now, I think 70-80% of the people, don't speak English. They speak Tamil. And of course, it's unfortunate. We are, at least in Karnataka, that, you are losing many of these Kannada medium schools. So you need to have, it's like mother's milk. So we need more children to read, to get to the habit of reading. And if they can read in Tamil, not to follow me, not to follow what I did, because you have to, the book is about you discovering your dreams. It's not about following my dreams. You discovering your dreams and you finding a path and beating a new trail so that this can be a better world. And with these words, I'm really grateful that they brought it out in Tamil. This book has already been come in Kannada. And as I was asking him how you plan to distribute it, how many bookshops are there, he said that's a great challenge. I'm sure he'll find an innovative way, because he's a great innovator himself. He said he's probably going to do it on e-books. But I'm old-fashioned. I still like to hold the book in my hand with a coffee in the morning. So I'm really happy, and this land is a great land, Tamil Nadu. All our culture comes from here, at least today. So I feel that more entrepreneurs of the new generation. You have had entrepreneurs of the older generation, all your TVS and Amalgamated and all that. We need more people, young people, who can dream and who can dare. Like, I just so happy to hear that, he was selling door to door like Ganapati here. Give him a big hand, and give them a big hand for, because this itself is an enterprise, and this requires all the success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Anybody here would like to ask any specific questions on the book, on his journey? May we request you to come forward? Sir, can you take a few questions from the audience?
Good evening, Mr. Gopinath. I'm a big fan, as in everybody is a fan of yours. My question is, you were talking about dreams. One has to realize their dreams and live their dream, is it? So, what I found is many people, they dream a lot, but they get lost at times. So how to, if supposingly somebody dreams big, a magnanimous dream, but they get lost in translation, then how would they come back and then pursue their dream? Is it covered in your book, or if it not,
Yeah.
how would you address it?
I think my book has not covered, it has not covered it from the point of view of, I just want to try to take out something which I read today, and I just put it in my cell phone. This what's, was a very famous saying, many of you may have heard it. It says, nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, press on, has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. And that is why one of the presidents of America, Calvin Coolidge. So I am not I did not put down 10 points which are important and try to put the 10 points into my book. I just wrote it as I lived my life with all its mistakes, with all its impetuousness of youth, arrogance, and foolishness. But I think what comes through that is that, every time you involve in something, you need to have that persistence. I think that persistence is more important than any talent that you may have. And even Einstein, when he was asked, he said, look, I'm not a genius. Einstein said, I'm not a genius, I'm infinitely more curious, and I stay with the problem longer. So I think genius is nothing but the ability to take infinite pains and to stay with the problem, and not to give up, and keep going. Right? In the worst of circumstances, keep going, because in that sense I'm superstitious that if you keep working hard, doors will open. Right? And even if it doesn't open, it's better to perish attempting rather than perish without attempting. Like this old fable is that two frogs fell into curds. One kept swimming, the other one prayed and died. The one which kept swimming, there was a ball of butter and he stood on the butter and then jumped down. So I think we need to be, I think it's also what the Gita says, that you have to lose yourself in action all the time, rather than giving up and despairing. So my book, in one sense, probably talks of it, but more in a story format.
First of all, I wish to congratulate you for writing this book. This book is with a message. Actually, I read the book at a stretch for about 24 hours without sleeping. I am also a Chinese school student from Amaradi Nagar, 10 years junior to you. So I also want to congratulate you that the book is not only a biography, it is also a fiction. It's like a fiction also. Very interesting incidents, everything. And I also wish to congratulate our Tamil. It's Kilakku Padipagam. They are like what you have done in flying, they have done in this Tamil. The translation, they have good. Yes, they have brought all type of books from all over the world to Tamil, and I take this opportunity to congratulate them also. And I used to ask another question: now, what is your present venture and how is it going? This cargo venture.
Yeah, my cargo venture is having some turbulence. This is the nature of the enterprise. My helicopter company, I have two companies. One is a cargo and which is a new venture again, which I'm trying to connect the remote parts of India into with cargo, and we had a huge issue of the cargo because of the kind of it's a mindset change, which I'm not still able to get the people to get into the logistics space. In fact, we are launching next week Calcutta Northeast cargo flights. India has just 5-6 aircraft in cargo, as against China, which has about 125. So there is a huge paradigm shift, and I'm trying that. It's a tough business. I invested a lot of my other money into this. I also have my other company, the helicopter company, where we have helicopters and we are tied up with the Tatas, and we have the jets, personal jets, turboprops and helicopters, which we give as a complete solution for travel, including hotels in Taj, hotel rooms in Taj, hospitality, concierge service, logistics. So if somebody wants to come from Bombay to Chennai, they come by Bombay to Chennai by a jet, and from Chennai they'll take a helicopter to Masarigudi, and then stay in a Taj hotel. So we're giving complete. So we're selling corporate timeshare. So one business is doing well, the other business is going through some turbulence.
Good evening, sir. I read in your book that in your journey you have been interrupted with so many government bureaucracies and these things. You have experienced it when you are doing farming and when you started the helicopter business. And also, that is one side. And the other side, in your young age, you, without any objective, you just visited US and you spent around some time there. And often you had been to the foreign lands. Did this thought occur to you? Like, why should I be in this India and why can't I do my business in some other country, or why can't I do or look for a green pasture in some other country? Because sometimes when I speak with some of my friends, now also they face some problems, and they say that okay, life is very comfortable in somewhere else. Maybe we can go for sometime earn some money. And I have seen those people who have gone there, they earn some money, but most of them they never return back. And this was the case with even many of the professors or who had gone and who had made a good name in US. And if you look, Albert Einstein was also a German. During his troubled times, he did not stay in his country, and he went to US to pursue his ambition. So that's my question. Did this thought come to you, and how did you overcome this?
It's very personal, so I don't want to moralize. I always felt, because the way my father brought me up in my village, and I always had this longing to go back to my village, to live on the land, to work on the lands, to create something here rather than outside. So I traveled very extensively, in foreign countries. And I also got a lot of my friends, including my brothers. In my days, because there were hardly any jobs, what jobs were there in government, the private sector was not offering too many jobs. I think people had no choice. You get an engineering degree from IIT or an engineering college, and you straight away head to America. And once they went there, then you're caught in that American life, because then you have children. Then the children do not want to come back, and then you get caught. And most of them, their heart is in India, but they're living there, just doing a job. And some of them have broken that and come back. So, as you very rightly said, that Einstein, of course, he went during the days of Germany. But you have to discover yourself, but the problem is that most people who are living abroad, when they come here, they come and moralize, saying they got garbage, there's no power, the roads are bad, corruption. But who is going to clean up our country? You're not going to get someone from America to clean it up, or from the moon. We had to clean up our country. We had to be, like Gandhi himself said, we had to be the agents of change ourselves. And it's not easy, it's tough. But your heart has to be here to do that. I don't have any answers to people who want to go abroad. But I think today, purely speaking from an opportunity point of view, see, there's no security in this world. If you look at history, last 1,000 years, 2,000 years, you always had upheavals, revolutions, and whole civilizations or kingdoms. A kind of tsunami has overtaken, most societies. You have had very brief periods of security. So you don't have security, but what is there is opportunity. And I think India is all gates. India is a land of opportunities, and India is all gates for one who wants to seek and one who wants to do something here. Today is you're fortunate. You're fortunate that you are at this point in time in history. There are always times in history when one nation, more than any other, represents the aspirations of the world. At one time it was Spain, at another time it was Rome, before that, and then England. And I think today, if you ask me which is our country, I think it's India and not China, because we've got to think four things. We have a great democracy. I think the worst democracy is better than the best communism. With all its imperfections, we have a great democracy. We have a vibrant press. We have a strong judiciary, and most importantly, India has a very mature financial legal framework under which equity markets can operate, which is the greatest opportunity for entrepreneurs. And I think there are two people here in front of you itself, and many in Tamil Nadu. This is a great land to be in today, purely from the business point of view. But I think for otherwise, emotionally, I always prefer to be here in this country.
If I call Air Decon is your big dream, so what was it actually for you when you are actually coming out of it? So what it made to do the decision or take the decision?
You should read my book.
Definitely, sir. But we wanted to hear from you at least
Yeah, I know. Air at that point in time, I had a lot of investors with me, private equity people who had put money. And though I was a minority shareholder, I ran the company. So I was very passionate about it. It was a very the culture. And so in 4 years, Air became the largest airline in the country. It is 1.5 times bigger than both Indian Airlines and Jet Airways in terms of our network. We were going to almost 70 cities every day, as against Indian Airlines after 50 years was going to some 43 cities, and Jet was going to 44. So I always had this challenge, of creating these unconnected parts like Chennai Tirunelveli, where we launched flights, or Hampi, Belgaum, Gwalior, Jabalpur, Rajahmundry, Vijayawada. So it was a great challenge, and to create a business out of these common people, and also to link all the unconnected parts. So I had 4,000 people in the company in 4 years, and we had 500 pilots, and there's a huge responsibility on me, because in one shareholder meeting, one of the shareholders, who was a small shareholder, who had, when I say AGM, he got up and said that he had put his retirement savings. He was a retired bank employee who put all his retirement savings of some 50,000 rupees in a Air stock. He said, when will I get my returns? So as a promoter, you're very close and passionate about your baby, and you do not want to let go control. But that was one thing that was worrying me, because Air had become everything to everybody. The common people owned it. And when he said that I have not got my returns, so that was one thing that was bothering me. Banks had invested, LIC had invested, New India Assurance had invested, a lot of retail investors had invested. I had not given them the returns. A lot of private equity players had put money. I raised more than 1,000 crores in Deccan just by selling my dreams. And for an entrepreneur, selling your dreams is to give away equity and get yourself reduced. Because I did not start the company with any money. I did not have any money. I did not put a single rupee into the company myself. So I just conceived the idea. I launched it with 5 crores of borrowed money, and then returned that 5 crores by giving away shares to various investors. So there was a lot of pressure on me also from the private equity people. So the stock market was hot. The airline was very big. And I didn't want to take any risk, because by chance something went wrong, then all these people who had put money, I would have been letting them down. And the investors in my company put a lot of pressure, because they wanted to get a return. And a lot of people were ready to invest. Vijay Mallya was one of them, Anil Ambani was the other one, a lot of foreign investors. And of course I did it because we had a very clear agreement between Kingfisher and us that Air Deccan will be a separate company, looking at low cost, and people will go from this low cost to Kingfisher. You buy a cycle, motorcycle, second-hand car, then a Maruti 800, a Honda City, then a Benz car. So you come to Air Deccan and go to Kingfisher. Kingfisher will always be small because it's luxury. Air Deccan will be mass. But somewhere along the way, Vijay Mallya, changed his mind, and which was very sad. So he killed the airline. And of course, if he had benefited from it, it would have been fine. But I think he killed the airline, and I think killed himself. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. May I now request Badri Seshadri to give away a few mementos to Captain Gopinath first, and then Badri one.
Photos எடுக்கலாம். He has not taken photos.
You want a photo? You want us to hold the book?
Yeah.
Fine.
I think it'll be good if each one of you hold the book.
Yeah. Mahadev. அந்த பக்கம்
Thank you so much. May I now request Satyanarayan, who is the director of New Horizon Media, to give the vote of thanks. Thank you. Over to Sir.
I think one of the things that really fascinated me when I first started reading this book was, how it took me so much by surprise. I thought Captain Gopinath was largely, to do with the aviation industry in Air Deccan. But then, the story before that is so fascinating and exciting. Then I said, we must do this book. And one of the things that, distinguishes Captain Gopinath from many others, I would say, is that he is somebody who's gone after entrepreneurship, looking at opportunity, not so much entrepreneurship looking at necessity. Most of the people who start out, I'm not saying one is good or bad, but I'm saying that there are a lot of people who start out looking at wanting to do something to make a living for themselves, and then they go on to become fairly successful at what they're doing. They could be running a hotel, they could be running a grocery store, they could be running a textile store, or various other things, or it could be a travel service or whatever. But then when they are entrepreneurs out of necessity, they tend to stop at a certain level, and they become comfortable, they are happy with what they are making, and then there might be much bigger potential and opportunity, but they are quite content at the level that they are. But what Captain Gopinath, I think, has shown is that it is possible to spot opportunities which are out there to serve the needs of people, and try and do something which can make a big impact for a lot of people. So he's actually been, I'd say, a real serial entrepreneur, true serial entrepreneur, having done so many things, having attempted this, having tried his hand at doing so many things. And I think in a sense, what we are trying to do at New Horizon Media is also to look at an opportunity that we think is a huge opportunity to make an impact. Most people in India today, as Captain Gopinath pointed out, don't know English. And we are talking about Indian economy growing, India as the land of opportunity today, the one and only place where it's probably the best place to be in today, as Captain Gopinath said. Now, if we have to grow, we need people who are educated and productive. And when we were looking at what to do after we had sold off Cricinfo, we were looking at something that would have a large impact, and we found that most people in the country don't have access to knowledge today in their own languages, and all the people who don't know English have no access to languages. So we said that is an opportunity which is a huge opportunity. It's not something that might be easy to go after. It's not something that might be something which would turn into success very quickly. But then it has to be done, because as a nation we have to help all our people gain access to knowledge. And when we first started talking to people in the publishing industry about what the industry was like and so on, most people said there's no point even getting into publishing. They said most people don't read today because of TV. They all watch TV, they don't read anymore. But then we also saw that the people are reading newspapers and magazines, and the readership of newspapers and magazines in the Indian languages is really growing. So we said there must be an opportunity out here, and decided to get in. And after 7 years, I think we have discovered that there is an opportunity out there, but then it's not an opportunity that is again something that's there for the taking. There's a lot of challenge involved. There are lots of constraints and distribution and various other things. But then there are other opportunities that come by. So when the ebook opportunity arises, I think that will help solve many of those challenges. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Professor Captain Gopinath for coming down today. It's been a long time in getting this event to happen, and I'd like to thank Mr. Satish Babu for agreeing to come and release this book, and Mr. Ganapathy for also being here on this occasion to receive the first copy. I'd like to thank Landmark for agreeing to host this event. I think, as Captain Gopinath said, he got the idea at an event at Landmark, so it's nice that we've had the launch again here at Landmark. And I'd like to thank all of you who have come here today for this event, and hope you really enjoyed it. Thank you.